Today, we are diving into a scientific paper that uncovers this hidden genetic switch, a discovery that could totally supercharge some of our most advanced medicines and make them way more powerful. You know, we all saw how mRNA vaccines changed the world. They were an absolute game changer. Fast, effective, totally revolutionary. But like with any amazing new tech, there's always room to make it even better. So the big question scientists are asking now is, how do we take this to the next level? And look, this isn't just about some minor tweak. This is about solving a really critical problem, which is that current mRNA therapies don't work equally well for everybody. In fact, they can be less effective for the exact people who need that protection the most.
And that, right there, is where this incredible new research comes in. Scientists have been searching for a way to supercharge mRNA medicine from the inside out, and it looks like they might have just found it.
So here's the core problem they're tackling. In preclinical models for things like aging and obesity, the body's cells are often under a lot more stress. And that cellular stress, well, it means they don't produce as much of the good stuff, the therapeutic protein, from the mRNA instructions. And that makes the medicine less effective.
Okay, so to really get how they found a solution, we gotta look at how an mRNA molecule is actually put together. The secret isn't in the main genetic message itself, but in this tiny, often overlooked section right at the very beginning. So think of an mRNA molecule like a recipe card. Your DNA is this giant cookbook tucked away safely in the cell's nucleus, and the mRNA is the specific recipe that gets sent out to the kitchen, the cell cytoplasm, so you can actually cook up a protein. Now, every recipe card has instructions, right? For mRNA, there's this little note at the top called the 5' untranslated region, or the 5 UTR for short. It doesn't actually code for the protein, but it acts like a volume dial. It tells the cell's machinery, hey, make just a little bit of this protein, or crank it up and make a whole lot. For years, mRNA drugs have used a pretty standard, one-size-fits-all 5 UTR. And hey, it works, but it's not really optimized. The brilliant new idea from these researchers was, what if, instead of that generic volume dial, they could find one that's naturally supercharged, especially one that works great under those stressful conditions we see in aging or obesity.
So, how in the world do you find a better volume dial? Well, you don't just guess, right? You become a data detective, and you look at what our own bodies are already doing with incredible efficiency every single day.
The researchers basically put on their detective hats and scoured these massive genetic databases from both humans and mice. They were looking for mRNAs that are always on, the ones that are constantly being turned into proteins in huge amounts, no matter the tissue. And the answer was loud and clear: ribosomal proteins. These are the literal building blocks of our protein-making factories. So they thought, wait a minute, the volume dials on these mRNAs must be universally powerful. And they found a winner. After testing a few different candidates, one just blew the others away: a 5' UTR from a gene called RPS9. It consistently and dramatically cranked up the amount of protein being made from their synthetic mRNA. Okay, so this is all great in a petri dish, but here's where the rubber really meets the road. Does this new code actually work in animal models that mimic the exact problems they're trying to solve? First up, challenge number 1, an aged system. The researchers tested their new and improved mRNA therapy in older mice, which, just like older humans, can sometimes have a weaker response to therapies. And the results? Whoa, they were absolutely staggering. In these 44-week-old mice, the standard mRNA did its job, produced some protein. But the mRNA with that new RPS9 code, in one experiment, it led to a 12.5-fold increase in protein. That's not just a little better, that is a massive boost. But they didn't stop there. Next, they decided to tackle that second big challenge, a preclinical model of obesity. To do this, they used mice that were fed a high-fat diet, which is a condition that's known to make vaccines less effective. And this is where it gets even more wild. The standard vaccine, it just completely failed to get a significant immune response going in the obese mice. But the vaccine that was armed with that RPS9 code, it worked. It totally restored the immune response, kicking up a huge increase in antibody levels. Just incredible. So, what does this all mean for the future of medicine? I mean, this is so much bigger than just one powerful piece of code. It's really about a whole new way of thinking about how we design these therapies from the ground up. All right, so let's just quickly recap the big takeaways here. First, that 5 UTR is not just a little detail. It's a powerful volume dial that we can actually engineer.
Second, this RPS9 sequence works like a charm in preclinical models of aging and obesity, and that could lead to way more effective vaccines and therapies for so many people. It really opens the door to a new, data-driven way to design smarter, more powerful mRNA medicines.
This research leaves us with a truly exciting thought. By understanding and mastering these hidden codes that are already inside our own biology, are we on the verge of creating a new generation of medicines that aren't just powerful, but are optimized to work better for every single one of us? It's a future that is definitely looking brighter than ever.